want to do endless Obama videos, and I really want to write them because I never say exactly what I mean, and I'm always embarrassed. I can barely go back and look at my own videos, so I don't blame the people who think I just go on and on and on. But people like to listen to me talk, and I do like to talk. Anyway, I want to do a lot of videos about Obama, but I really don't want to talk too much more about Obama in this one because this is sort of off the cuff. What I really want to talk about is Obama's enemies on the left and the left progressive movement in general. Now, I've grown up around left progressives. If any of you don't know, I live in Santa Monica, which is a separate city in Los Angeles County, and is famous for its lefty progressives, its granola eaters. The Republican types love to call it the People's Republic of California. The People's Republic of Santa Monica. But in fact, the business it sold that soul to business interests in a lot of ways. Nevertheless, well-off, well-heeled lefty progressives are everywhere you look. I'm fairly sure that there is no city on earth that has more Priuses per capita, more smart cars ahead of the curve. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. I've been around progressives at least since junior high school, and I've always thought of myself as being, if one has to choose a label between right and left, I've always thought of myself as being on the left, but I don't want to make that distinction because I understand that it's a false distinction. It's too simplistic to say anything. I don't want to label myself. I recognize that you have to label yourself in life in a lot of ways, so I would tend to call myself a progressive realist. I genuinely want progress, but I try to be realistic about it. And that doesn't mean making do with a disappointing compromise or something like that. It means the reality of how change happens and the reality of how anticlimactic the change will always eventually end up seeming. Moments of euphoric transcendence are by their nature momentary. They go quickly. And I'm for progress because I don't think that the standard of living for most of the human race is up to an adequate standard to be a conservative, to be a person who wants things to stay just as they are, a classic conservative, if you will. But I don't think that progress is going to transform the nature of existence. You can, if you're lucky and the right kind of person, live a perfectly good life right now. And in the most perfect world that humans can achieve, there's going to be someone who gets a raw deal. So, you have to see this stuff in context. But one of the things that I came very early to hate, absolutely despise, and just, to hate about the left is the inability to see themselves as being part of the process. They think they've stepped, because really, in real life, beyond our labels that we put on things and our sides that we choose up, we are all playing the same game. We are all in the same system. My shit fertilizes your food and vice versa. And the left, if it really wants to change things, has to face the fact that it is going to, that it is trying to annihilate the style of life that it practices. People on the left who love to protest are implicitly working for a world in which nobody needs to protest. Now, of course, it's been a long, long time since the 60s, and most leftists have gotten smart enough to understand, you know, like the Who said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, won't get fooled again, all that, except they do get fooled again. And one of the things that they get fooled about is where their livelihood comes from. And this was driven home to me during this Democratic National Convention. First by the group, a blip on the radar. They ended up not even being a very good, useful idiot for the right. But this group called Recreate 68, a bunch of people living in their own private leftist Disneyland, a fantasy world. Recreate 68. Wow. I've heard some of the leaders of the group saying, oh, though we didn't mean it that way, like we didn't mean we were trying to recreate riots and the election of a Republican and the assassination of two of the potentially, you know, two of the best leaders this country's ever had, blah, 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 blah. No, we weren't doing that. No, what they were trying to recreate is a self-serving fantasy of a way of a self-righteous way to act. They were trying to recreate a fantasy performance of rebels on the side of good against the evil establishment, the man, the fascists, you know, and they were going on and on about the detention centers, the concentration camps that had been set up to capture the protesters that were, of course, going to pour into Denver and bring this convention to its knees and show everybody that these Democrats don't represent the people, and of course the people would rise up and you know, everywhere everyone would vote for the chastened candidate, or possibly the green candidate, or possibly Ralph Nader, if they did this. I mean, I have no idea what their fantasy was of success, but what I do know is that they attempted to recreate, they attempted to create in their own minds and in the minds of other people the idea that they were living in a police state. And in this, they served the interests of the business of our sort of police state, our kinder, gentler police state, our paintball police state, if you will. Because without people like this, eventually even Republicans would start balking at paying for all that equipment to fight riots. These retarded rioters, these dancing monkeys. There's a YouTube video. I'll either stick a few clips in here or leave a link over here of them trying to levitate the Denver Mint. Now, of course, this is a famous incident from the original Vietnam anti-war movement, where the protesters attempted to levitate the Pentagon, which is inexplicably beloved by people who look back fondly on the anti-war movement. And it didn't work as well this time. Neither building was levitated, but I don't think this one will go down in history as even an amazing romp. But the thing is, these people are pets of the rich. These people are not remotely oppressed, except in their own minds. They serve the purposes mostly of the right. Back before the internet, there was always somebody somewhere burning an American flag. some American leftist or whoever, the Spartacist Youth League of Texas A&M or somebody like that would be burning a flag, and they'd either be burning it to show their lack of allegiance to the United States of America, KKK, or to prove that they have the right to do it, showing that they're exercising their constitutional rights and nobody can stop them. Who knows what their reasons are? But the point is, they were making a public protest. But back before the internet, the only time these people ever got in front of the general public was when the conservative Republican media machine decided they had to stir up the base and basically acted as their press agents and got their video on the news to show that the left is no damn good. In practical fact, that was the only purpose they served. And in all the years that we've had a left and a right in this country at war with each other, the left consistently loses in the outright fights, and the reason that this country has become better in so many ways is because some other group of people, not these radicals. These radicals, they may serve a purpose in making things better, but it sure isn't the purpose of leading the charge. It isn't. They'll never be out in front of the parade that really celebrates something worth celebrating. Recreate 68. What do they want to do? They want to recreate a peace movement that had 7 more years of Vietnam War ahead of it, and the shootings at Kent State, and in the end, basically really didn't have anything to do with what approximately ended the war, which was that it just became financially untenable and politically untenable among the middle class. Now, I don't want to. I almost want to scratch that because if any leftists are actually listening to me, I don't want to hear your arguments about no, the anti-war movement ended the Vietnam War. They played their part. They played their part, but at the very least, their part was as much a stiffening of the resolve of the idiots who supported the war as it was an actual weakening of support for the war. If you want to look at Vietnam War protesters who really affected the middle class voters, the silent majority, if you will, probably those couple who got accidentally killed at Kent State probably had a lot more to do with. And that wasn't planned. And if it had been planned, it would. And if it happened now, it wouldn't have the same effect. And the people who did it, the descendants of them, are smart enough not to do that again. We hope. We think. Basically, this culture is rich enough to support a comfy, irritating opposition that can always be pointed to as a failure when you don't want to do the right thing. Oh, you'd like them to be in charge? And they're supported. They're not. It's not a complete conspiracy of the right to pay for their care and feeding so that they can be used. They also have families. They also have people who feel guilty or romantic about it, who support them. But basically, they're supported. I wish I could have gone to Denver. I couldn't afford to go to Denver. How'd they get to Denver?